All right, we just talked about how to classify triangles. Now we're going to talk about specific angles in triangles. So this is going to be 4.2, angles of triangles. You probably never thought about this before or done much with it, but it makes sense that every triangle has 3 angles in it, and there's a lot of things we need to know about all these angles. So we're going to write down 1, 2, 3 theorems and a couple little facts. So we're going to start out with our first theorem. It's called the triangle angle sum theorem. So triangle angle sum theorem. Now this one is something that you already know. We're just going to make it a formal theorem, and now we can use it in our proofs. It says that the sum of the measures of the angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. Well, you already know that. You know that a triangle adds up to 180, but we're just going to be a little more deliberate about it and a little more formal. So here's our triangle, and we're going to label it triangle A, B, C. And what the triangle sum theorem says is that the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C equals 180 degrees. So this little fact right here is something we're going to use in proofs, right? So the triangle sum theorem, this is what we would write. This is going to go in our proof. Okay, so anytime you're doing a proof and you say, hey, those add up to 180 degrees, well, this is how you say it. All right, move on to our next theorem. This one's going to be very common sense, something you probably already realize but haven't formally thought about either. This one's called the third angles theorem. It says that if 2 angles of one triangle are congruent to 2 angles of a second triangle, then the third angles are congruent. Okay, so this is a theorem we're going to use in a proof, and it's about the third angle. So it's going to be when you know the first 2 angles are congruent, and you want to say that the third angle is congruent. So a little visual of what that's going to look like. So we're going to have 2 triangles. And in those 2 triangles, if we know that these 2 angles are congruent, and we know that these 2 angles are congruent, then it has to make sense that the third angles are congruent. And that's because all three of the angles add up to 180 degrees, so if 2 of them are the same, the third one has to be the same. It's the only way they're going to add up to 180. Okay, now we're going to do a little bit of vocabulary, but it's going to be based off a picture. We're going to draw a triangle, and we're going to extend the bottom of it a little bit past that angle. So we'll get a little picture like that. Okay, then we're going to number some angles. So we're going to have angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, and then this angle will be angle 4. So there's 3 kinds of angles here. There are interior angles. Those are angle 1, angle 2, and angle 3. There is an exterior angle, that's angle 4. And then there's a third kind that's a little difficult to see in more challenging pictures, but it's pretty easy here. There are remote interior angles. And in our specific picture, the remote interior angles are angle 1 and angle 2. And the word remote means far away from or not next to. That's why you have a remote control, because it works when you're not next to the television or you're away from the television. So these two angles, 1 and 2, are our remote interior angles. And what that means is they are not next to the exterior angle. So exterior angle always tells you where the remote interior angles are. Okay, so remote means not next to the exterior angle. Now we're going to have a theorem about this, of course. So we're going to have the exterior angle theorem. It's a pretty simple one, but it brings up some pretty complicated pictures for some of our work. So we're going to write it down. The measure of an exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of the measures of the two remote interior angles. So if we looked up at our picture, so I'm going to draw a little thing that says we're looking at this picture. That means that the measure of angle 4 equals the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2. Okay, so that's our exterior angle theorem. It says that angle 4 is equal to angle 1 plus angle 2. And if you're not sure why, that's because the measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 3 equals 180. And the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 also equals 180. Now, the first one, angle 4 plus angle 3 is 180, is because they're a linear pair. So that's our linear pair theorem. And 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 180 is our triangle sum theorem. Okay, both of those say those things add up to 180, so it should make sense to you that angle 4 is equal to angle 1 plus angle 2. And that's it. That's our exterior angle theorem. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.